Hey, East High Health students. It's like week 8 of quarantine. We have not been in the classroom in a long time. And I don't know about you, but I'd much rather be in class seeing all of you than doing this from my basement. But we're making the best out of it, right? So we are moving into the next lesson of Unit 4. This lesson is all about emotional health. So think, we talked about the brain, we talked about how the brain works and got a little bit more specific with neurotransmitters and signals being sent using chemicals and a reward system with things like dopamine. Well, let's now try and make some connections, if you will, between everything that you learn in this unit from the previous lesson. So let's try and form some connections in our brain, get it, with emotional health. So I'm gonna start the lesson. See, I got my East High tennis hoodie. Yes, I am a tennis coach, and it is getting sadder and sadder by the day that it's looking like spring sports might not happen. I don't want that to happen. All right, here we go. Sharing my screen, and we're moving into emotional health. Here is the learning tracker for the day. If you look at your learning target for emotional health, we want you to be able to identify characteristics of an emotionally healthy person. What does it mean to be emotionally healthy? That's your do now. What does it mean to be emotionally healthy? Think about that and respond. So we got some vocab words for you. There's 4 of them. I'm actually going to go to the PowerPoint because this is what you'd be seeing in the classroom. I'm going to present this so you can see the vocab words up nice and big on the screen. And I'm going to try and move myself out of the way here. First word, empathy, which is a word that we've used in the past. If you remember from our clothesline reflection, not mental abuse, sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Domestic abuse and violence, empathy, being able to understand and share feelings of another person, right? Put yourself in their shoes. Try and have understanding of situations of other people. Next word is optimistic. You've ever heard of someone being either optimistic or the opposite, pessimist? If you're optimistic, you are hopeful and confident about the future. So for one's emotional health, it really pays to be an optimist and be optimistic about any situation. And hoping that even if bad things occur, that you have our next vocab word, which is resilient. So being able to withstand or recover quickly from difficult conditions. So someone that's resilient takes the bad in life, if you will, or the negative, and they push through it and they recover and they move towards the future. A lot of people, especially people that struggle in life or may not have been that successful, will use different excuses or situations that have occurred to them in the past as a reason for why they are struggling. Well, those individuals, while they are justified in doing so, because there are some people that have a very difficult life, but they're not being, or they weren't at the time, as resilient as you need to be through life's challenges. And because of that, they struggle. The more resilient you are, the better off, the more successful you'll become. So that is a very important set of vocab words for this lesson. Now, excuse me, we have a think and respond, and I want you to look at this and try and come up with something to sort of fill in the blank for this part. So people with good emotional health what can they do? If you have good emotional health, what does it allow you to do? What opportunities maybe does it provide for you? And how would someone, and think when you respond to this, how would someone with good emotional health be or respond to different situations versus someone with poor emotional health, right? Once you respond to that question, we have a little quiz, and I'm going to give a shout out to and props to Miss Flaherty, because I've been making these videos for you. And the purpose of the videos, guys, is to connect you to your teachers, your classroom, and to support the learning. I don't like the idea of just throwing an assignment at you and saying, here, do this, without any guidance, if you will. I think it's not what education's about, and it's not why I became a teacher. So Miss Flaherty's been doing a lot of the legwork, and I appreciate her doing a lot of legwork, sort of converting our assignments over to a more friendly format for you guys. And then I've been making these videos. We are doing this this difficult time and being as team-like and cooperative as we can be. So I gave a shout out to Miss Flaherty here. So there's a quiz that we've used in the past, and Miss Flaherty's done the awesome job of converting it for us. And you want to be able to take your emotional health pulse, see where you're at right now, right? So if you scroll down in this, it's going to ask you a series of questions, and all you're going to do is you're going to click. Ooh, see that little checkbox that popped up? You're going to click whether or not your response is most of the time, sometimes, or not very often. So we've all seen those surveys where you got to like pick one of three options. So the first question says, I like who I am. Well, Mr. Eckert likes who he is, so he would click most of the time, right? The next part is, I'm aware of my strengths and my limits. I am very aware of my strengths and my limits, so I'm going to click that box as well, right? And we're going to go through all these questions, and we're going to click them. I can accept criticism. Criticism is someone that has negative impact, feedback for you. So they're not dissing you, but they're giving you they're criticizing a little bit of what you do. Now, being a successful human, you need to be able and be open to feedback. And some of that feedback can be negative. Your ability to accept that and learn from it is very important. So we're going to go through all these questions. You're going to fill that out, and then you're going to total up. You're going to do this on your own. You have calculators in your Chromebooks. You're going to total up your greens. You're going to total up your yellows. You're going to total up your reds. You're going to take those numbers. You're going to multiply by 4 if it's in the green column, because you get more points for the most of the time. The yellows you're going to multiply by 2, and the red you're going to multiply by 1. You're going to then add those 3 values up, and you're going to get a total score. Again, multiply the greens by 4, the yellows by 2, and multiply the reds by 1. So whatever you get for the reds is your number. Add those together. That's your total health score. Now, if you had 75 to 100, 75 to 100 means your emotional health is pretty good. That doesn't mean that you're good, you made it, right? No, that means let's learn how to keep it that way. Because I've seen some people with really good emotional health struggle and then sort of spiral downward. If you're between 50 and 74, your emotional health is good, but you probably should work on it a little bit. And hopefully using this quiz, you can see some areas that you can improve your emotional health. And then if you scored a 25 to 49, your emotional health, it's not bad. We're not trying to say like you have problems, right? No, that's not what we're trying to do. what we're trying to say is that your emotional health's all right, but maybe you should key into a lot of the things that Mr. Eckert and Miss Larity are showing you, because you're going to be learning in our class how to improve it. We're going to try best we can from home, right? So that's your quiz, and that's going to take a bulk of your time for this lesson. Let's go back to the learning tracker. I want you to put your total score in this area. And then I want to talk about a few things, and then we'll get to the end of the lesson here. The first thing I want to talk about is sort of give you some description of a person with good emotional health. So I'm going to pop back over to my slides, actually. I'm going to go to this slide, and I'm just going to talk about a couple of things. So a person with good emotional health, they have a wide range of emotions, and they deal with them, and they show them and express them in a healthy way. And someone that does that forms really good, healthy relationships with others. So if you have a lot of bad relationships or a lot of enemies, you probably should be thinking to yourself, like, what can I do to either stop dealing with that drama and move on from it and form better relationships? Or if it's people that you know and you want to keep those relationships, find ways to work on those. And one of the ways you can work on those is by communicating better, expressing, talking about how the ways you feel and how that relationship affects you, and talk about that with that person, right? That is a very healthy thing to do in a relationship. Your emotional health affects how you respond to feelings, relate to others, handle stress, and make decisions. So your emotional health doesn't just, it isn't just in your head. It's about how it translates to you dealing with stress and making decisions that impact others and different areas of your life, financially, physically, right? And it's not just about feeling happy, but it includes being able to cope with difficult ups and downs and situations in life without hurting yourself or others. And we don't mean physical harm. Obviously that is a part of it, but not just physical harm, but you can hurt others with words. You can hurt yourself with certain behaviors that you do that isn't a physical harm to yourself, right? And then finally, good emotional health enables people to enjoy life, survive pain and disappointment and sadness without losing a sense of well-being and belief in yourself. So emotional health is so important, because if you have good emotional health, it will translate to other aspects of your life. And that's so important. So let's go back to our learning tracker. I gotta get this guy to move. And there's a video here that we're gonna open up, and it's a video about emotional health. And we're trying again to make some connections to the brain and other aspects of our lives, right? So I want you to watch this video. It's only a 2-minute video. And then you've got an article to read here. And this is on mental health disorders and teen substance use. Remember, I told you we're gonna get into this stuff. This is where we're gonna start making more connections to alcohol, drug use, substance use, and how it affects your emotional health. So you're gonna watch the video. I want you to read this article, and then your exit ticket, finally, tell me about why emotional health is important. Now you've gotten all this information. Take everything you learned, specifically from the video that you're gonna watch, and the article, and tell me why it's important. But give me a lot, don't just give me a couple things. Give me a few sentences, give me a paragraph, right? Tell me all the different reasons why emotional health is important, and make those connections to other parts of your life. All right? That's it for emotional health. Day one, we are going to do another day of emotional health, and we'll be posting the second part of that soon. So I hope you are still enjoying my videos, and I will see all of you soon. Stay healthy and stay positive. Bye.